Good afternoon, everyone. Thanks for joining. Again, we want to dedicate whatever Torah we're learning for the safety of our soldiers who are engaged in a Milchemes Mitzvah. With God's help, we will do what we need to do to eradicate Hamas. Our prayers also that all the hostages should be returned and not suffer and rejoin their families. And refuah shlema for all those who are ill, who are wounded, and nechama for those families who are mourning loved ones who have died in this terrible war. So I'd like to present something that I heard from Rabbi Yitzchak Breitowitz, who I'm sure some of you may know. Incredible Talmud Chacham and a wonderful speaker, very insightful. And it sort of gave me an idea that I wanted to share with you and expand upon to give us, as we all need, some framework in which we can deal and cope with the current matzav, with the current situation. And so I'd like to dip back into the PARSHA of last week and to try to understand the difference between two people who laugh. The Torah tells us at the end of Parshas Lech Lecha that Hashem turns to Avram and he says, Vayomer Elokim el Avram. He says, Sarah Ishtecha, your wife, changes her name from Sarai to Sarah, and then he promises Uverachticha also that I will bless her and she will have a child. And when Avram hears this news, Vayipol Avram al panav Vayitzchak, and he's thrilled. He laughs. A little later on, at the beginning of Parshas VAYERA, when the three Malachim come to visit, three men who are Malachim come to visit Avram, and one of the Malachim says to Avram, in a year's time, I'm going to come back, and Sarah will have a child. And the Torah says Sarah was eavesdropping. She heard, and the Torah says, Vatischak Sarah b'kirba lemor, and she laughed, and she said, "Habalosi hayisali ednav adonizo kain." How is it possible? That's Rashi. Rashi interprets what she said. She said it in a questioning fashion. She said, "How is it possible? I'm an old woman. How is it possible that I can conceive? It's impossible. And on top of that, my husband is also old. We're just too old to have children." When Sarah laughs, Hashem responds. He's upset. He is not pleased at all with Sarah's laughter. And Vayomer Hashem al Avram, Lama zet tzachaka. Sarah, why did Sarah laugh like this? Hayipolei me Hashem davar? Is anything beyond my power? Of course, whether you're old, it doesn't matter. If I bless you with a child, you're going to have a child. Why was Sarah laughing? So we find that when Avram hears the news, he laughs. Hashem doesn't say anything. When Sarah hears the news, she laughs, and Hashem is upset with her. So Rashi explains the obvious. Rashi says, even though the word Vayitzchak, right, or Vatischak in the feminine, is the same exact word, Rashi basing his interpretation on the Targum, how Targum Onkelos translates each word differently in each case. So Rashi says, when Avram laughed, it was a laughter of simcha. He was overjoyed. And the laughter was an expression of how happy he was upon hearing the wonderful news that his wife was going to have a child. It was going to be a boy. Wonderful. He was laughing. But when Sarah laughs, her laughter, Rashi says, it was liglaga. It was almost like mocking laughter, skeptical, filled with doubt. How is it possible? It's impossible. I can't have a child. And therefore, her laughter was not a laughter of joy, of simcha, but it was a laughter of lag, of skepticism, of doubt, and Hashem was upset. Hashem expected more from Sarah. Ramban, on this very subject, because everyone tries to understand why Hashem was displeased with Sarah. So Ramban tries to offer perhaps an answer to try to help us. Why did Sarah respond that way? And Ramban says that Sarah, when Sarah overheard, she didn't know that these three men were really angels. She thought they were wayfarers. There were Bedouins coming. Avram was always hospitable to everyone. So when she heard from one of these people that she was going to have a child, she was incredulous. She said, it's impossible. This simple person is coming from the desert. He's giving me a bracha that I'm going to have a child. She dismissed it. So Ramban says that was her mistake. Her mistake was, and Ramban doesn't quote this, but there's a Gemara in many places, a Chazal that says, Al tihi birchas hedyot kala b'einecha. Never dismiss the blessing of a simple person, because we don't know how God channels his blessing to us. We think, we go to the Gedolei Adar, we go to the top rabbinic luminaries in a generation, we ask for a bracha, which is fine. But sometimes the bracha of a simple person, a stranger, maybe a beggar, who gives you a bracha, how do you know? Hashem may be channeling the bracha to you through the medium of a hedyot, of a simple, ordinary, almost anonymous person. Never take lightly the blessing of simple people. So that was Sarah's mistake. Okay, it was an honest mistake, but Hashem was still upset. She should have been appreciative, even though she didn't know that he was an angel, but God may have chosen to operate and channel and send his bracha through this simple person. She dismissed that was her mistake. Comes along the Orach Chaim HaKadosh, one of the great commentaries on Chumash, and he has a completely different interpretation. He says, when it says Vatischak Sarah, she was laughing out of joy. So why was Hashem upset? To understand the Orach Chaim, we read it inside. Orach Chaim is basing his interpretation that Sarah's laughter was like Avram. It was laughter of joy. Two things. Number one, when God tells Avram at the end of Parshas Lech Lecha that Sarah was going to have a child, Orach Chaim says it's obvious that Avram told Sarah. Why wouldn't he have told Sarah? Sarah, HaKadosh Baruch Hu came to me, says you're going to have a baby boy. Wonderful. Wonderful. That's number one. The second thing is, remember when she overhears what the angel said, that she was going to have a child, she said, "Hello below sea, I'm an old lady, it's impossible." According to Orach Chaim, she was making a statement. The Gemara comments in Bav Metzia that at that moment her body rejuvenated. She became like a young woman, and she saw physical signs that she was no longer old. So when she said that statement, when she comments, no, it's not a question. It doesn't express doubt. She was saying, oh my goodness, my body can conceive. I'm a young woman again. Everything, my skin is young. Everything about me is young. So the Orach Chaim says, so why was Hashem upset with her? Hashem was upset with her for this reason. When she first heard from Avram that she was going to have a child, that's when she should have laughed. When did she laugh? She only laughed when there was corroborating evidence that she could indeed conceive. Her faith, her emunah was lacking. Avram, all he needed was Hashem. Hashem told him he was going to be a child. That was all Avram. He didn't need any corroborating evidence. He didn't need to see anything to convince him that Hashem's promise would indeed come true. Sarah, on the other hand, her laughter is one of joy, but only when she sees evidence of it in the rejuvenation of her own body. She's a young woman. Now she believes, and she's very joyful. Hashem says, there's something about your faith which is lacking. It should have been enough when Avram told you that you're going to have a baby for me and you believed it. That's when you should have laughed. So it's a powerful message here, because what it's saying is real faith is believing in whatever promise and pledge that Hashem makes, even though we don't see any evidence of it. There was someone else who laughed. Someone else who laughed the laugh of Avram. And that was Rabbi Akiva. Now you remember, again, I'm sure you probably remember, at the end of Makos, the end of Masechta Makos, there's a beautiful story about how Rabbi Akiva and his contemporaries, the great Tanoim, were walking among the ruins of the Churban Bayesheni. The second temple has been destroyed, razed to the ground. a catastrophe brought upon them. The Romans came, destroyed the Beis Hamikdash, slaughter. It was a terrible, dark moment in Jewish history. And so the sages then were walking among the ruins. And they saw that Rabbi Akiva was laughing. They saw he was laughing. And they said, Rabbi Akiva, why are you laughing? And he said to them, well, why are you crying? So they said, why are we crying? Once upon a time, this was a place where there was holiness, there were korbanos, there was singing, Leviim, the Beis Hamikdash was here. We felt the presence of Hashem, and now there's nothing. There's desolation, destruction, churban. So Rabbi Akiva said, that's exactly why I'm laughing. And this is how, conceptually, what Rabbi Akiva was telling his friends. There were many, many prophecies that the Nevi'im spoke about. They spoke about prophecies of churban. If the Jewish people would sin, there would be exile, there would be destruction, there would be onesh, there would be yisurim. But they also spoke about prophecies of redemption, geula, Yeshua, salvation, nechama. So Rabbi Akiva said, I didn't know these nevuos, whether they were really figurative, metaphorical, allegorical. Maybe they weren't meant to be taken literally. It's possible. Now that I see that the prophecies of Churban exactly happened, tangible, real, concrete, it's not a metaphor, it's not a mashal, it's not some figurative allegory, but it's real. So if the nevuos of Churban are real and literal, so too, all the nevuos of the geula, the ultimate redemption, all the nevuos of Yeshua, of salvation, will also be literal. When will it happen? I don't know. When Rabbi Akiva said that there was no evidence of redemption, there was just utter desolation, churban. But yet Rabbi Akiva laughed the laugh of Avram. Hashem made a promise. The promise will happen. The pledge will happen. There will be geula. There will be Yeshua. There will be redemption. When? I don't know. I don't know. Hope maybe tomorrow. I don't know. But it was enough. It was enough. His faith, it was enough that the Nevi'im said it, Hashem said it, and even without any corroborating evidence, he was able to laugh because he knew that going into Galus was not the end of the story. It was the beginning of the story because the Jews would come back. I think, like I mentioned last week, when Hashem says to Rachel, who's crying, the shavu vanam ligvulam, right? Everyone's going to come back. The reason why I think this is such a powerful idea is because, we, again, as I forget who said this, everyone is really a part of this milchama, part of this war. Whether we're living in Israel, whether people, soldiers on the front line, everyone has a role to play. Even people who are in Galus, people who are in the diaspora, they also have a role to play. Okay? Maybe not a fighting role, but saying Tehillim, learning, giving tzedakah, visiting people if you can. The point is, what drives that belief? What drives that belief is, even though we're going through a very painful period and it's not over yet, what drives that belief is the laughter of Avram, the laughter of Rabbi Akiva that says, we will win and we will overcome this and we will be better. And maybe, who knows, maybe it'll be the beginning of the geula. We believe that. It's not the end. It's the beginning. It's tough. It's painful. But we can laugh the laugh of Avram, the laugh of Rabbi Akiva. It's interesting. When you think of the name, and I'm sure you've heard this, Yitzchak. It's a noun. It's a name. But if you look at it as a verb, Yitzchak means he will laugh. It's in the future tense. He will laugh. The reality of Yitzchak, people think Yitzchak, not much. We don't know much about Yitzchak. Avram, plenty. Yaakov, Yitzchak is sort of an anonymous, almost a mysterious personality. And maybe, why? Because Yitzchak means there will be laughter in the end. In the end, when we see how everything fits in at a time of redemption, everything will make sense. Yitzchak, in the future, we will be able to laugh, the laugh of Avram, the laugh of Rabbi Akiva. And maybe even now, when we bring the reality of the future into the present, allow the future to inspire the present. It's that very inspiration. When I know the future is real, I believe that it's real. That motivates me, motivates everyone to push through this, to do whatever we can, because we know that at the end of this period of darkness, of course, there will be a great deal of light. What do we say we say in the Shir Amalos, that we say, usually that paragraph we say before we bench on Shabbos, right? What does it say? Oz yimole sechok pinu. At the end, schok. At the end, everyone will be able to laugh. Everyone will be able to smile. It's a beautiful kapitel tehillim. We'll all be able to laugh, all be able to smile. We believe that. And to the extent that we believe that and allow that laughter to motivate us and to drive us to do whatever we can, then we can all say that we've adopted the laughter of Avraham Rabbi Akiva, a laughter of simcha. It will end on a good note for all of us. We just hope that will happen soon. And Yehi Ratzon that Hashem make it happen soon.